So let's try this again. Hello, happy campers. Spike,
Chris.
show. Yes, we're actually doing the show this week. So back to the pop culture
Well, we
side.
did it last week.
Last week we did the season 4 premiere of the Chore of Duty over on Rumble. It's exclusive to Rumble because that's the only place we can get away with talking like that on the Chore of Duty. Next week we'll be discussing the Coof. So, including and then on next week's Chore of Duty over on Rumble, and that's at rumble.com/Chore of Duty for those of you keeping track. We'll be discussing COVID-19 and what does and doesn't work. There's going to be some interesting things, and I cuss a certain doctor out up and down the East Coast and the other left coast. So, anyway, so we're sitting here. It's Sunday, November 7th, 2021. It's closing in on Christmas time, which means Archways put out all their Christmas cookies, including their cashew nougats, which I haven't had in years. All these things are dangerous, but anyway, it'll also suck all the moisture out of your mouth if you ain't careful.
That's true. I'm not thirsty.
Anyway, we are right now going to switch over and do well, apparently you're the only one of us who's seen Marvel's The Eternals. I think that's the official title of it, but
The Internals?
The Eternals.
Oh.
Not The Internals. That's something that Hustler Hollywood puts out. But go ahead.
Yes, I got the pleasure to watch the Eternals or
Eternal. The Eternals, yeah. Eternally Marvel, yeah.
So, yeah. Let's talk about it. First of all, I don't know nothing about this, the comic books or anything about this movie whatsoever. I went in this thinking that it was Inhumans for some reason. So, that's my bad. So, yeah. Oh, wow. Stuff got to me. Those nougats. Woo. So, if you do not want any spoilers and you are wanting to go watch the movie, I will tell you this. I'm not going to give away everything, but I will tell you things that you probably should not know. So, be prepared. So, The Eternals is a Marvel movie, the latest Marvel movie, where basically they are celestials. They've been here since, well, before time, pretty much. Back when the dinosaurs and cavemen, they've been here all this time. So, you have characters like Angelina Jolie, plays Athena. You have Gemma Chan, who plays Cersei.
Mm-hmm.
You have people like Selma Hayek playing Ajax. You have most of these people I don't even know, to be honest. Some of these I've never actually seen. So you have characters like they're all pretty much like gods almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they was brought to Earth to defeat an enemy, but they cannot interfere with human lives. So it's like war, Thanos, all that.
Mm-hmm.
They could not interfere. All right? So let's make that clear. They cannot do that at all. So the story tells basically from the beginning that they got here all the way up until now. Even after the snap.
Mm-hmm.
On both sides. They don't even show or talk about the whole Thanos, well, I mean, they do, they mention it, but, during that time period, they don't show what's going on.
Right.
Because apparently they was not affected by the snap. So anyways, they come to Earth, And basically, um, it switches back and forth from now and back in, well, whatever year that they pretty much are telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they all end up splitting up. The reason why they split up is because Angelina Jolie's character, she has this thing apparently that they don't really go into much. They just mention it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's almost like a disease, kind of like Alzheimer's or dementia or something that affects the brain, makes you think that you were somewhere when you really wasn't. So like the past is coming back, and she ends up she goes all crazy and starts trying to kill all of them, and then she snaps back and is like, oh, I'm sorry for all this. Pretty much, So the only way to do it is to erase her brain. And Matt, see, it's making it sound so complicated. I'm literally trying to explain to you all, but it's so complicated. Okay, you know what? Scratch all that, because that's just the plot details. Eventually, they split up. They go their own separate ways. Okay? So, I'm so bad at explaining everything. So basically now, the creatures that they have been trying to save humanity from are back. They are like literally like these dog-like creatures that I don't know what planet that they're from or whatever. Again, they don't really explain all of that in the movie. Just know that they're here to save them or kill them. They, the dog-like creatures, are trying to feed off of humans. Okay, so now, oh boy. So anyway, they killed them all off centuries ago, but now they're back, and now they're able to heal themselves and stuff like that. They're sucking the powers out of the Eternals to upgrade themselves. Not just like heal, but be able to become more, I don't want to say human, but they're able to talk and stuff now. If that makes any sense.
Not really.
Oh my goodness, this is a lot to talk.
This is why I was going to have you go ahead and do the review up front.
Okay. This is like a lot of plot that I didn't realize I could, but it feels like it's taking me forever. Alright, so anyways, I'm going to try to shorten this a little bit here.
Yay!
Okay? I want to just try to shorten this. Okay, anyway. So, is this a good movie? Bottom line, is this a good movie?
Mm-hmm.
It is a good movie, but it's not the best out of the Marvel films. Okay? There's a lot of things that I also didn't like, but there's a lot of things I did like, and I will get to those. So, first of all, the things I did like. I love the characters. The characters were really fun. Except for like two. And then that was it. The characters are like, they got you invested, There's two characters that they wish they spent more time on, and that was Angelina's character. She plays Athena, and then there is a character named Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh, oh my, he is awesome, okay? He is literally just this dude that goes with the flow. He goes with the flow. He's taking care of Angelina. If Angelina goes, his powers is superhuman strength, basically. Angelina's character is more just a warrior, pretty much. That's all she pretty much does. Is she has a staff and a shield, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But when she goes crazy, he's always there to be like, stop it. So that's he was one of my favorites, indeed. it was, the visuals were great. The characters were great. It was a fun time, but, and I can't believe I'm getting into the bad stuff already. The bad stuff about it is that this movie is 2 hours and something long. Almost 2 hours and a half. It shouldn't be. There was a lot of scenes that they just drug out, and they should not have done that. Okay? My issue is that they spent too much time on the love story. There's this character named Icarus who shoots lasers from his eyes and flies around and stuff like that. And then there's Cersei. They spent too much time on their love story, okay? And there was one scene, there's actually two scenes, that should not be, okay? They wanted to tell you their story. So this is what happens, okay? We already know that they liked each other, okay? So, they have this moment, they have a bunch of moments in this movie where it's like, I'm talking to you sweet, you know, and it just drags out. They should not do that. But anyway, there's this one scene where they kiss, and the kiss, you can tell is passionate, fantastic, let's move on, right? No, that was a long kiss. And then they decide to go from that, showing them making love, which was an awkward scene, and it drug out too long too, and then they went from that to them getting married. You could have took that love scene out. We get it. You know? They kiss, they get married. That's it. But no, they had to definitely take their time on these two scenes. And then get to them getting married. And it's like, why'd you do that? That was a big issue for me. Just dragged out scenes. They killed off, and again, this is spoilers, they killed off characters that I liked. Like, if you think Selma Hayek's in through all this movie, she is not. She does get murdered. You got my favorite character, Gilgamesh. He gets murdered.
Yay.
Yeah. Also, there's this character, Kingo, or I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's played by Kumal Majana.
I'll take that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But his powers is literally making gun fingers, and like these cool ass like lasers just shoot out. So, but the thing about him is that you love his character, because when they go see him and see where he's at now, he's doing Bollywood movies, and he's been playing all these characters throughout film history, because like, oh, that was his great great granddad, this was his dad, but it's all him. So he's been portraying himself through movies in Bollywood. I love that character, but something happens that I don't understand if this was actually a scheduling problem, or if this, like, something happened on set. I'm not exactly for sure. But he was there throughout the entire movie, but when it came to fight the big bad, he was like, I'm out. I can't do this. And he leaves. Now you think, you know how it's a kind of a cliche in movies where if somebody says, I cannot do this, I'm too scared, and they leave, and then the big battle happens, and then they show up out of nowhere to redeem themselves.
Oh, of course, yeah.
He didn't come back. He literally took off. He never came back. During the whole fight scene, he did not show back up. I do not know what happened. You spend so much time on this character who is so likable, and they didn't, like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. It was so weird. So I'm thinking something happened on set. That's the only thing, and they had to, like, write him out of the battle scene. That's all I can think of, to be honest. The other things that I had problems with was there were certain characters that was so dislikable. There's a character named Sprite who had this Peter Pan storyline going on, where you know how Tinkerbell was secretly in love with Peter Pan and was jealous of Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what happened here. She was a pain. I'm just saying. There are some really cool characters, but there was a whole lot of issues that was just it just should not be there, and also it's kind of like just why. Also, there are 2 in-credit scenes, but I will warn you, if you do not know nothing about the Eternals, if you don't know anything about any of this, you will have to do your research after you see the movie, because the in-credit scenes is just, you don't know who these characters are unless you are a comic book freak of that type of genre of comics, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're expecting like the Hulk to show up, or Captain America, or Iron Man, or any Avenger to show up, you're wrong. It's just brand new characters to start out phase. What are we on? 5, 4?
We're on 4 still.
4 to start out that. So you have to do your research. So if you're thinking that you're sitting there waiting for an end credit scene and you're like, oh wow, yeah, it's not really too much of a wow, unless you know these characters. But yeah, that's my again, trying to keep it short because I had this whole thing in my head to say, and then I realized it's taking a whole lot longer to explain this movie than what I thought. I was just like, man, I had this thought ever since I watched it. I knew what I was going to say, and then I'm like, wow, this is way too long. So yeah, so
there's that.
yeah.
So on the grand scale of 1 being not on a bet and 5 being prime time on a Saturday night with your favorite date, Mr. Hand, what would where would you put the Eternals, Chris?
Even though I did like the characters and the story was pretty neat, I'll give it a 3.
3 out of 5.
Yeah.
So maybe worth streaming.
It's worth streaming, but honestly, it could have been a whole lot better as a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why I say that is because they go back and forth between the present and the past. And it's like, we get it. You were there during Pompeii. You were there during Titanic. You were there during whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, we get it. You were there. So I don't know why we have to go all the way back to, especially due to the fact that when they first arrive to scene, it's AD. It's like, it's the beginning of time. It's like, we get it. So you were there during the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the Eternals. Now, I've been hanging back trying to let you go. You went for 19 minutes.
I know, that's why I was like...
Anyway, the thing is, Marvel, there's 2 groups at Marvel Comics that, honestly, there's like, legitimately, grand total, probably like 0.01% of the comic book reading population actually gives a funk about. These are the same guys who watched who read Jack Kirby's New Gods, which is what the Eternals basically are. They were Jack Kirby got ticked off at Stan Lee, left Marvel, went to DC, created the New Gods, Darkseid, Mr. Miracle, and all the others there. And then when he kissed and made up with Stan Lee, he went back to Marvel and basically created the Eternals and yada, yada, yada. There's the Eternals, and what was the other one? There's some other stupid group, the Inhumans.
The Humans,
Can't
the one
stand
that
them
I
either.
actually got confused with this.
Those two groups I can't stand. The whole, oh good heavens, back in the 70s when everybody was high as a kite on cocaine and the Devil's Parsley and stuff, there was like this entire subgenre of cosmic comic books. I mean, that's where you got the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is where this stuff belongs. It belongs with Guardian. The Eternals should show up in the background of a Guardians of the Galaxy movie because they're basically a punchline. They're not worth really dedicating your time and effort to. I asked you before we started recording, and I think you took it the wrong way because I asked, why would they spend all this time and effort on this instead of like alleviating human suffering? You missed the part where I said all this money. I'm asking, why did Disney spend all this money, time, and effort producing this film instead of, actually alleviating human suffering? You took it as, where have these guys been all this time instead of...
Not bad.
No, it's not your bad. It's their bad. Their bad writing, their bad characters. These characters sucked, okay? We are talking about... Oh my goodness, we can't even talk about D-list here. We're down there like Z-list with like Stiltman and the Spider Buggy and all that other stuff.
You want me to... I can spoil the plot real quickly.
Oh, go right ahead.
So basically, this is the whole... The good guys are actually the bad guys.
Yay!
See, they were brought to... They've been going through planet to planet. All of them are not actually real. They were made. Okay? They thought that they were trying to help humans progress through history and things like that. When it turns out that Earth was just being used as a big seed for a celestial. Or I think that's what the big gigantic...
Yeah, the Celestials, yes.
Yeah. So basically, we get humans to progress, and I guess somehow it feeds off of that. And then all of a sudden, Earth blows up, and then there's this big, gigantic, godlike creature. And then they move on to another planet to do the exact same thing.
Yay.
And when they find out that that's what they're for, they're like, oh, we got to stop this. And it just so happens when they realize it, they only have like 7 days before the Earth blows up. So it's like, oh, okay.
You want to know who the good aliens are in the Marvel Universe?
Well,
The Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's it. Nobody else who came from space was worth knocking in the head, okay? The Kree, the Skrulls, which is where your movies should be. The Kree-Skrull War. Oh my goodness, with Earth as the central battleground of that, there's your next Avengers trilogy right there.
Don't bring Captain Marvel in there.
I'll kill Captain Marvel because that was where Captain Marvel came from to begin with. They did the whole Kree-Skrull thing just as an excuse to take Captain Marvel's copyright away from DC. And they did it too. And they laughed about it. They laughed. And now every 10 years they have to publish another Captain Marvel something in order to keep the copyright.
Wow. What's that?
So, yeah, you'll notice that if anybody who's been in the comic book industry for any length of time or comic book reader will notice you'll see strange little characters pop up from time to time. They're trying to maintain the copyright on those so they don't go into the public domain. So, that's what happened to Truth, Justice, and the American Way, don't you know?
Oh, yeah.
It went into the public domain. That's why DC changed it. Truth, Justice, and a Better Tomorrow. Yeah, that went over like a wet Kleenex. Anyway, so that's your review of the Eternals, and I'm gonna say, no way in the world am I going to watch this? I would give this a 0. I wouldn't even watch this on Pluto TV. I wouldn't watch this on your Disney Plus account. I couldn't care less about this crap. Heck with it. Marvel's burnt me way too much in this cycle. I'll wait till 5. Maybe by then somebody will have fed all of these so-called creators, force-fed them an inorganic diet, and we'll be able to get some people actually know what they're doing.
We'll see.
We'll see. Not that force-feeding an inorganic diet is code words for anything, but anyway.
Yeah.
I did make the little things jump on the soundogram over there. Anyway, so let's move away from that great big fart burger right there. Although I have heard that the Eternals was doing better on Rotten Tomatoes than, at least among the fans, instead of among the critics. Apparently the critics did not like it at all. Let me see where they're at now.
Yeah, critics hated it.
No, I hated it too. It's got 47% from the critics. It's at 81% with the audience score. That's your fanboys sounding off there.
I mean, to be honest, I never really cared about what Rotten Tomato actually said.
Yeah.
Because they usually, like, some of the movies I liked, they ended up hating, and I'm like, are you serious? So it's like, and it's always the fans that seem to love it more than the critics. And it's like, who are we really pleasing here? You know, it's like,